The Out There channel, Robert and Paul.
Please sub and share.
Searching for the truth. UFOs, aliens, greys and ufology. Real images, real stories, real videos, real cases, researched and investigated by professionals in the field and cutting-edge discoveries. Multiple witnesses, abduction accounts brought to you by Team The Out There channel. Good to be back. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Action.
Hello, how's it going, people? Myself, I've been very tired. Fatigue. So yeah, it's like I can't keep my eyes open, but I'll soldier on, as they say. So there hasn't been much coming from me because of how I've been feeling. Let's see, what was I going to do? Alright, so we're talking about Mars rocks today. I'll just post up the side. Wait people for joining us. Oh no, not another live debunk. Yeah, unfortunately I can't edit it because of my extreme tiredness. Lost that again. Where's the thing gone? There we go. Hooray! Anyone out there? Probably not. Hey, let's get moving. Stone Hobbit. Sounds like a dangerous combination. How's it going? Are you in New Zealand? Australia? I don't get many from those places, even though I'm in New Zealand myself. Yes. Yeah, I don't know where all the New Zealand skywatchers are. I'm going to be a bit lagging on the skywatching too because of this extreme tiredness I have. I don't know if it's related to the jabs I've had or virus going around at the moment. Who knows? But I've had it for a long time now. So, yeah. So we better get on with it here. Yep, Kiwi. Yeah. Okay, so look at Secureteam, just go over the science of what he's saying. And silly Google's listening in there, and the phone's beeping. So he put up this video here about Mars rocks, so we'll just go over that one. Anything else that we can add on, I guess?
Could this mysterious flower-shaped object that was discovered on Mars be proof of an ancient Martian ocean that once flowed on the surface, or could
aliens building sandcastles? What do you reckon, guys? Obviously we don't know the scale of this, so obviously it's going to be really small. It almost looks like right, we've got someone joining Discord there. I'll have to sort you out after the show, or unless we get some moderators on. So I reckon this is probably like an inch big, probably. But yeah, it's quite interesting. The strange structures that can happen with wind and heat. But we get these on Earth as well. He's saying it's coral. But as you know, we get crystals forming from sand quite easily because it melts, right? So we know it gets pounded quite a bit with meteorites. So could it be something to do with that? Heating of the sand, and then it just gets blown off and lands somewhere else. Doesn't quite crumble away. So he tries to be a bit honest here, I think. He tries to read out the full article with the scientists. Right, okay, yeah. I'll look at upgrading you then in Discord after the show. We have has auto levels when you join, because we get trolls, of course. Normally Plex, the German administrator, he hops on around about 9 o'clock. So yeah, I have to fill in meantime. But like I said, I've been away. I did see anything on there earlier. Keep on listening to him here, but these are the rocks I'm going to talk about.
could this be, if we're lucky, some sort of crazy, trippy alien mushroom that when consumed takes you literally to another dimension?
I'm freaking out, man. You are freaking out, man.
By the way, this guy is a gangster.
So I'm not sure if he's trying to be funny there or what. I suppose you won't get hit with a copyright claim.
Night. For today's video, I have just a couple of interesting news bites, but nonetheless, I find them very intriguing. The first of which you may have seen.
So all these submissions that we hear about, the people submitting these guys all the time, and all they can do is copy the news bites from cable TV. What's happening with Blake Cousins at the moment, where they're getting all these emails coming in worldwide, they got so many they can't deal with it. Don't you guys see the BS and the bullshit from these channels? Any of you 2 million fans that seem to hop along to my episode here, if you are listening, please answer in the comments why you believe this guy. Because we're still trying to understand it. Because if you do a bit of research, you can soon find out that all your faith in these guys suddenly comes undone. You got to remember, these guys ain't got no qualifications on this sort of stuff, you know. They're not even got basic geology, rocks, science. They haven't got basic science. They haven't got degrees. They got degrees in bullshit.
Seen a big news story hitting the web and almost every news outlet out there. NASA rover spots unreal Mars flower formation. Now, I posted this to my Instagram and Facebook and Twitter before I made this video, and a lot of people thought that it looked like fossilized coral like you would find in the ocean. And so the images you're seeing here were snapped by NASA's Mars Curiosity rover, which is one of the remaining rovers we have up there, still able to move across the Martian plains. And so you're seeing the different imagery here. Some of them were taken by the so-called ChemCam that's on the rover. But yeah, man, this thing is really mysterious. And when I first saw it, I thought coral reef. I mean, that's what it looks like. It looks like coral. Other people have said it looks like what would happen when lightning strikes sand and creates these strange glass formations, but others have said, well, there usually has to be some water within that sand for it to create something like what we're seeing here. And of course,
for lightning? Yeah, maybe. But if it was a meteorite that come down, it's going to create molten surface, right? It's going to be like a wave, water droplets. So when all those splashes that come down, they form these little beads, glass beads. They form these structures. So it'd be interesting to see what the Mars experts reckon they're formed from. But I don't think water is needed myself.
NASA, never a straight answer, has put out the most boring answer of all of them.
Yeah, so he's trying to be credible here, but actually reading out what they said. He doesn't normally do that. One Life Man. Yep. Welcome aboard. Alien Ant Colony. Yeah. What do you call it? Termites. They make the big sculptures, don't they?
Referring back to this CNET article here, it says, quote, "Hello beautiful, NASA's Curiosity rover snapped a gorgeous, delicate formation on Mars that looks like it could be a branching piece of ocean coral. Well, it's not coral, but it's worth contemplating how we see familiar Earth objects in random shapes on Mars. The minuscule Martian sculpture invites poetic comparisons. It resembles a water droplet captured at the moment of explosion against a surface." Kevin Gill, famous for processing NASA space images, brought these images to the public's attention with a tweet this past Friday describing the formation as a, quote, Martian flower. The image came from Curiosity's Mars Hand Lens Imager, which now...
So they're saying it's a droplet of molten sand coming down. And of course it's probably freezing cold there. And it just froze into that shape as it hit the ground, you know. Sploshed up. But like you get with the big craters, you get the bit of rock in the middle, don't you? So
NASA describes as the rover's version of a magnifying lens. So this is a very small object. You know, I think it...
So it's a micro sculpture. Little tiny ants, Martian ants, as you said. Dear.
It's definitely obvious, and the article here at least alludes to the fact that it is evidence that there was water on Mars. The evidence has shown that there were oceans on Mars. There were lakes.
Did they say there was water in that article? Did I miss something? They said it just has to be molten, like a water droplet. They didn't say water had to be in it. Although a lot of meteorites are made up with bits of ice in them, so they reckon that's how the water gets on the moon from lots of impacts over millions of years, right? And gradually the water absorbs underneath, and some of it evaporates with the solar winds, right? And of course, where it's the coldest, it's going to stay, which is normally the north and south caps, bit like on Earth. Okay, we've got some spammer still. Let's just get rid of that one. Does it work both ways? Doesn't quite work both ways for some reason. So let's carry on to the next bit.
And if you look at the evidence I've posted on this channel, there were definitely alien civilizations. We can still see the ruins and the square building foundations.
Yeah, so we covered this a few months back, didn't we? The square buildings. They're not actually squares. But we actually get this formation on wetlands in Russia, I think it was, where they get these strange square shapes happening due to the the winds and the ice sculpts, because as you know, ice is very sharp, you know. If you land on ice versus land on ocean, you know what's going to be harder, ice, right? Because it's obviously a different structure, you know, it's not going to part very easily. So it's actually harder than steel, I think, isn't it? Let's just check that out, because it's something I've heard over the years, but I'm not sure. Ice stronger than steel or harder than steel? That's the difference meaning, isn't it? Okay, what's it say there? Is ice stronger than steel? Okay, steel is hard in compression and tension as well as it is elastic, which makes it very resilient in shear compression and tension. Ice has very little strength and tension, not unlike concrete, which gives it very little resistance, but they didn't really answer it. Can ice scratch metal? Friction exists. No material is 100% immune to it. Watch out for your car. How does ice compare to steel? Cracks and fractures in ice, either pre-existent or post-impact, can also act as a means of strain relief. Well, it doesn't quite scale like that. A mild steel and a hard ice, the steel is well over 10 times more stiff in comparison. So this is why you got to look up things, guys, because you often hear all these terms through your life, and you just take it as granted. So yeah, it's like if you made a sliver of ice and you threw someone off a building onto that blade of ice. Will it cut them in half? Probably. But the steel will probably do a better job. You know, that's what they're saying here. But the thing is, ISIS, they were going to build these aircraft carriers in World War II. That all their ships were getting sunk by the German subs, so they had this plan to see if they could make a ice battleship or ice aircraft carrier, which couldn't be sunk because, as you know, icebergs float, right? Has a lot of mass under the water as well. So they were building these models, but they were adding some plywood or something to it, wood chips, I think it was, which they found that made the ice even more resilient to impacts and explosions, and hardly touched the outside of it. You can probably find some documentaries online about that, but it's really interesting. So ice, if it's on the surface of a planet, moon and stuff, you think that would also absorb a lot of the energy too. But I think ice is going to be a lot deeper than we think it is. But that's why they keep sending rovers, I guess, to drill. And here you go, someone's asking the same thing. According to Nasiki and Dal, that's obviously Indian, isn't it? The hardness of ice at 0 C is 1.5 on the Mohs scale. Relatively soft with most other solids. However, the hardness, and then it sort of shuts off. I suppose we can have a look at what this is. Not even close. Nope. Steel is almost molten. Ice engineering is high temperature physics, after all. I'm not sure what he means by that. Ice is also brittle. But so is metal. You often see on these shows where they do mining in Alaska that they simply break off things with their bulldozers trying to penetrate the permafrost, right? So, yeah, I think it depends. I think it's a lot harder because it can break metal like that. Because it's got, permafrost is not actually pure water, you see. So that's one factor here that's not taken into account, whether the water's pure or not. If it's got plant wood pulp added to it, like permafrost probably has, it's going to be like super hard. Because it's not brittle anymore, because it's got the woody bits in between the ice crystals, right? So it's got that as reinforcement, but like rebar and steel, right? And concrete, I mean. Full of sands because of Noah's flood. On the moon? Don't think so. Moses from the Bible split the water. Yeah. I don't believe the Noah story. The Ark story is actually about a guy that saved his family from a flood on a boat and put some animals on it. And the story just was retold over hundreds of years at campfires because it was a good story. Because there was a land bridge, they know it sort of collapsed around about that time in the Bible on Earth, where it was lower land and the sea was rising because the ice was melting, and the land was not very strong at the edge of this land mass, and of course it crumbled and flooded the plains, right? But like what we get nowadays when we don't expect rivers to rise. So yeah, I think you find a lot of the Bible stories are a collection of stories, because when you look into the Bible, how it was written, it was taken from many, many scripts. There's a lot of scripts that weren't included into the Bible, and they're actually stored in the Catholic Church in their vaulted library, so no one can actually get their eyes on it. So yeah, they only cherry picked the best stuff. So anyway, just carry on.
On Mars today, taken by satellite imagery. I recently posted some images of these mysterious domed shaped structures.
Okay, this one sort of got my interest when I first saw it, but then I realised they had actually played around with the image. And these dome shapes actually turn out to be piles of rock, believe it or not. If you look at it carefully, even that one, it doesn't look quite like a dome anymore, does it? It's certainly jagged like the rocks below it. Why would you build a dome structure and have all these blocks on top of it? And wouldn't they slide off, So it means they're going to be interlocked somehow. But when you look at their cleaned up photo, you see they smooth out all the edges, right? See that there? They start smoothing it all out. But when you get the really high res quality, changes it. So you've got to be careful of the deception of editing.
Being captured up on Martian hills by the rover and past rovers that are no longer alive sending back images. And something else that really intrigued me and that I've never really gotten an answer to is these mysterious rock piles. At least that's what they look like to me.
So these are the rock piles that we want to talk about. Now they are quite interesting. It kind of looks like a bush even, doesn't it? But yeah, apparently they are rock piles. And you naturally think, well, that's really out of place there. It's got to be done by animals or humans or something, right? Well, it seems not. We actually get these on planet Earth as well. And if you do a bit of research on it, that sort of explains it pretty good. So you can put in here rock piles on Mars, and we should be able to get some hits because it's been around for a while now. And of course he doesn't tell you the truth about this one, because this one's a more juicy one compared to the crystal. There we go, straight away. 2018, NASA spots mysterious boulder. So he says NASA is never a straight answer, but he read an article before which was a straight answer. They said exactly what they believe it is and how it's made. And likewise they do with these ones too. So just click on that. So it's not new information whatsoever. So hopefully other people have read the same info and sort of laughed at his episode a wee bit. So there's a special region where they get more of these piles of rocks occurring. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit. Tuesday showing a very alien looking Mars surface area with a series of neatly land boulder poles. So they've got really good eyes, if they can see that. This keeps on zooming in. Okay, can you see the boulders? I guess it's part of the dark ones here that sort of look raised up. So it's the darker areas. And you can see some crater impacts there too, can't we? And then we got this stuff here, which looks like sand. Looks like dunes, right? Like in the movie Dune. That looks like sand that's going over top of the rocks. So how's sand made, exactly? Well, on beaches we know it's ground up seashells and rock, right? That's a good question though. We'll just ask Google, because we're not rock experts, but Google is, because it's got lots of stuff on there that can help us answer it. It's like the supermind. How is sand made? Or I should say formed, maybe. Okay. Sand forms when rocks break down from weathering and eroding over thousands and even millions of years. So that's how the sand obviously was formed on Mars. I would have thought it would have been longer than thousands of years though. Depends what size. I suppose they keep rolling and rolling, then break up a bit more and keep rolling and rolling. So it ends up being like these bigger rocks, right? The big piles of rocks, and then eventually the wind will blow those down, or something will happen, meteorite impact, and they'll start rolling around with the wind and break down further into little grains of rock. So that's that rarefied. So obviously these have been around for a long time, and these other ones have been around lesser time. Here's an even close-up view here. Maybe a bit more high-resi. Okay, so we can see these columns going up diagonally. Looks like piles of rock. Certainly a strange looking surface, isn't it? Silicate, you know, the grey. Maybe some frozen stuff on there. Methane gas, frozen methane gas, which is like water. So yeah, really, you need men on there exploring it, you know, the people that like to explore that sort of thing, take samples, work it all out. So what does it say here? The striped areas with neat boulder piles are more obvious. Yep. So we saw those. NASA is now asking how these polar boulder piles got so well organized. Little beavers, no, spoiler, it's not compulsive aliens. There you go, never a straight answer. One possibility is frost heave, a process we see on Earth in the Arctic where freeze and thaw cycles push rocks into neat shapes, and I suppose they also cause them to split as well, including stripes or piles. Frost heave can be strong enough to move and damage roads, bridges and buildings according to National Snow. So if you've not been watching like survival shows where they're building cabins in frosty areas, I'll just explain how it sort of works. It's quite interesting. Generally it takes about 10 years before you have problems on your log cabins with these foundations, right? So generally when you build a cabin, you don't think too much about that you're going to use concrete in a big hole around a post. You're going to think that's going to be there forever, but you don't know that Mother Nature has a different idea. So so when you dig a hole, right, you normally dig it like that, right, and you put a post in as far as you can, dig, depending on how hard the ground is, and then you fill it up with concrete. So probably have to how do we going to do this? Actually, so you fill it up with concrete. Let's see if that works. And you think it'd be there for life, wouldn't you? Because some of these holes go down to 3 feet sometimes, and make sure the cabins don't slide off the mountain or whatever. So what happens is you get layers of frost underground. Jack Frost comes along. Oh, now well, it doesn't matter if we change the colour there. Oh, wrong one. It does there though. Yeah, so you got. Right, I forgot. Change both of them now. Damn it. Let's try that again. Yeah, so you get layers underground, and as you know, as you get further down underground it gets warmer, but what happens is you get frost layers. So this part of the ground here freezes because it's got water in it, and it pushes up this concrete a few millimeters every year, sort of thing. And what happens then is the soil that's underneath it, so it forms a gap, forms a little gap if the hole was that big, right? Because it's uneven, and it gradually lifts it up, so other debris, because this probably liquefies as well, brings in new rocks along and gradually fills in, and it lifts it up. So how would it do it on the Mars then, if we ain't got no water? Well, they got frozen methane and other gases, so we're talking about piles of rock now. So how would it do that? I suppose we can leave it a bit blue. I guess it's going to be like that, right? Surface, and if it's anything like Canterbury here in New Zealand, it's built. You got a layer of sediment soil where you can grow things. But also underneath is ancient riverbeds, and you get all these little stones, right? Loads of them. Drives you crazy when you want to dig your garden. So you got all this sort of gravel from river, and it's got sand also between it from grinding. So what happens with the frost heave? Well, they know where it gets the most coldest, it sort of pushes upwards from the ground. So over many years, or thousands of years, this gradually goes up, and more of these rocks pile underneath, right? And gradually it pushes it above the surface, like that. And we can find those on Earth, in the right places, of course. And it's a very slow process. What are you saying? I'm on a Tomo water hole. Yes, you can drill down and get to the water table, can't you? Especially in Canterbury. Most of it's swampland though, reclaimed swampland, which is not good, and that's why we had a lot of damage from earthquakes, because when they built the old buildings 100 years ago, they never took it into consideration. You've got to remember, it's a load of English people coming over that never knew anything about earthquakes to the land of earthquakes. And of course, New Zealand had to learn how to build houses to withstand up to a size 9 earthquake. So that's how our houses are built. They're built to withstand with a wooden frame, and the brickwork is on the outside of the wooden frame, which gives you obviously extra heating benefits. But if you get an earthquake, the frame whacks against the bricks, and the bricks are made so the mortar is not solar, not got rebar or anything like that in it, and the bricks fall away from the houses. So that's how the houses are designed. The city buildings are built with counterweights and swing arms and all sorts of things, craziness in the buildings, and lots of reinforcing. But it's built so that the reinforcing goes down pillars into the ground, and also on swing arms with water, because you know how water works inside a container when you're carrying it. It sort of counteracts each direction that you're walking. It can make it really hard not to spill it, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I don't know if you can find any videos of this frost heave up, but it looks to me like they've explained it. And notice that this one's on a particular hill here, which means you would have some underground, if there's any sort of liquid at all, whether it's water, would have some flow going downwards, you'd think, because of some gravity. So it'd probably always be replacing stuff further up the mound here to the holes under here, right? In the cycle end. So it has to be in the right place, I guess, for it to work. And let's see if we can find some examples. Heave, rock heave, stones. Well, let's try Arctic, I think was the keyword there. Has to be somewhere where you got the extreme temperatures, I suppose. Where they build survival houses. Arctic, Canada, where it gets really icy. Alaska. Okay, so we got some examples here, right? Let's see. I haven't seen this before, but okay, we know they get these little round boulders that sort of work over millions of years. Concretions that sort of pop out of the hillside, and we got those in New Zealand. What science naturally formed though? Scientists explain Arctic stone circles. I haven't seen that before. Let's see what it says there. Rock polygons. See, even strange stuff happens on our planet. I hope it's just a page. Okay. So what they're saying, researchers may have an explanation for natural near-perfect circles. Are they perfect? Some look like ovals. Elsewhere in the far north, stones also form mysterious striking patterns on the ground. According to scientists, the circles are not the result of ancient art, but due to cyclic freezing again and thawing of the ground that drives a sample feedback mechanism that generates the patterns. So could that be how crop circles work then? Could it be something that sort of affects the growth of the stems on the corn and the wheat? Where it generates it every so often, like a microwave burst underground, and sort of cooks the stems, and they just simply fall over these amazing patterns. I reckon some of them might be, but I think a lot of them are hoaxes myself. Aliens, I'm still a bit suspect on. I think aliens would be interested in the patterns as well if they saw them, and probably investigate it, whether they're the ones that are making it. Because I know we've had MUFON investigate crop circle of a country singer when a TR-3B flew overhead, and they ran and bumped into a alien grey, right? And they got no photographs or video of it all. They had the smoking gun evidence in 2013, I think it was, and they didn't have any cameras to prove what they saw. So was the alien there exploring the crop circle, trying to figure out were we trying to communicate with them, or was it actually making it? So we don't know still. And of course they didn't stay there to talk to the alien, they took off again. So that they don't look perfect circles, they look more like rounded edged squares there, doesn't it? Tiles, like. So yeah, so if it can create circles as well from the freezing cycle. And here's a pile of rocks. Looks like can mind you, that could be man-made. What are rock calms? Let's just check that out. That's not a heave. The problem is we've got humans that interfere and build things like this. Oh yeah, looks like a burial mound of some kind, is it? Group of stones carefully arranged on top of each other. These man-made mounds used since prehistoric age. So obviously there's telltale signs between man-made and not man-made. So maybe I need to narrow it down the search. Look at these things. Scary. It's amazing they stay up for so long. In New Zealand, that probably would have come down with little earth trimmers. This is super glue it somehow. Concrete, rebar, and down the stone centres. So it's formed above permafrost. So we know how the circles are formed. Okay, so that's probably why it wasn't found. I got heavy there for some reason. Heave. Okay, circles again. Circles, lots of circles. Nicely shaped rocks. Look at this thing. Someone had a lot of energy. And of course, we know how these move now. I've never seen that in Search Off. Apparently, every so often, once a year, this turns into slushy mud on top, and they get wind gusts enough to slide it along every few inches every year. So that's how they're done, and someone caught it on camera. But yeah, that's pretty. Let's try pole. But disappointing that we can't get any photographs of one of these naturally made poles or stone to back it up. Maybe it's on video only, maybe. Let's try video. Frost heaving problems. There you go. Power engineers. Frost heave prevention. Yeah, so instead of building the blocks in a hole like that with concrete, they now have blocks, and you may have seen them, but like have I got the drawing thing up still? Like shaped like pyramids, because it's to do with the slope going the wrong way, which aids the soil turn into ice that lifts up the edge of it. It makes sense. Same as rocks. So if all the rocks were shaped like pyramids, which are not, so if rocks were shaped like this, they wouldn't suffer from ice cycles, right? But you get foundations that are built like that, pre-made concrete things from molds, and you buy them and then you stick it in the ground, and you have like bolts here and swivel arms that you can tie your posts on, and then you can bolt it off on the right angle and stuff, right? And the soil then goes over top. But because the way the ground freezes, it's now pushing it more downwards than it is upwards, if you know what I mean. So normally when you build it like that, a hole, it's the other way around, right? So when the ice freezes, it's going to push it up against there, and easy push it up. And same with round rocks, right, underground. You know, round rocks going to move in different directions, including upwards. So yeah, you want to get your foundations to be like that if you're in a icy region, unless you spend lots of money redoing your foundation again. I look at land mass as a whole to see larger riverbeds are built on those areas. Yep. Of course, building on top of these stone riverbeds is actually good for earthquakes, of course, because your house tends to roll around on top of it instead of sink, right? If it's swampland, you tend to sink, and you get these sinkholes. But if you're on old ancient riverbed, those rocks end up like rollers. So yeah, so obviously you got some pictures here and animations of how it works, which I'm not sure if are copyrighted or not. Case of Martian boulder poles. So there's something here, and so I may have put something together. Let's have a look. Who is it? Is it NASA? About space only. I'm not sure who that is. But he's talking about the same thing I am.
This image was originally meant to track the movement of sand dunes near
Sand dunes, yep.
from upper left to lower right in this area. In the dark stripes, we see piles of boulders at regular.
So piles of boulders here. Exactly what I've already said. And he's got a side view or something on planet Earth there, I guess.
In the Arctic, back on Earth, rocks can
Yep.
be organized by a process called frost heave. With frost heave, repeatedly freezing and thawing of the ground can bring rocks to the surface and organize them into piles, stripes, or even circles. On Earth, one of these temperature cycles takes a year, but on Mars, it might be connected to changes in the planet's orbit around the sun that take much longer.
There you go, but I was hoping he had some pictures. And the only one he's got is that one. Off the rock thing. Bit disappointing. Martian rock formations. Rock heave again. Foundation. So that guy's talking about the same thing I am. Lake and river ice formations. 55 weird objects seen on Mars, explained. So it might be on there as well. Can our poles be installed in rock? I guess they're talking about granite. And the disturbing walrus. What's that got to do with rocks? Is it throwing rocks at another seal or something? Wouldn't they? Yeah, that's a bit disappointing. Rock heave poles. Arctic. Maybe get rid of Arctic. There's got to be some examples here. Fence pole due to horizontal slide. I'm not sure if it's man-made or not. Talking about building. My pole heave. Come on, there must be some pictures. Frost heaving Wikipedia. I'm not sure if that's a really good example, is it? Needle ice, thawed soil, Koleski ice rich soil. So it looks like it's sort of pushed up something there, made a cavity. But yeah, I thought there'll be lots of examples. I suppose that might be one example there. Rock out. Yeah, it's not very good, is it? What's that one? There we go. That looks like a natural formation, doesn't it? But I don't know, because America had Indians burying people into rocks as well, didn't they? Terrain, it says. So I guess it would get pushed up from underground bit by bit and form these piles. But the Indian mounds were more sort of tapered off, weren't they? Flat ovals. That one looked like it was more what we've seen on the Mars picture. Is there any more there? So they're saying these are heaves as well, I guess. Yep. And I suppose they're little pebbles, are they? They sort of look like little pebbles. Not very big mounds though. What's that one? Oh, that's that guy. That's nothing to do with what we're looking for. Showing the rock under the soil there. Okay, what's that over there? Anyway, if you want to be a geologist, a rock scientist, go and take some more pictures so we can compare it to Mars a bit better.
They look like handmade rock piles. What you're seeing are actual legit rover images taken on Mars around 7 or 8 years ago, maybe longer, of what appear to be very sharp and pristine and well put together, almost cuts, whether it's a stick cut or rocks being put into just a very mysterious pile here. And as you're seeing in this comparison image, these are some rock piles that were created by humans here on planet Earth. And when you look at them side by side with the Mars imagery here, it looks damn near identical. And so Mars...
Yeah, so he's comparing it to man-made mounds, but he hasn't talked about the natural forming mounds.
...is a great mystery. I think
so to me, that's what you call disinformation or deception, right? So he's telling you it's got to be done by aliens. In a roundabout way, or some living creature.
Was civilization. NASA is never going to tell us, but the anomalous structures, the UFOs, the strange imagery where in the distance it looks as if dirt is flying up from the ground, like an object is blasting up.
We've sort of covered these ones in the past too. He keeps recycling them. That one kind of looks like a rock formation, again pushed up by ice, probably.
Out of the surface of planet Mars, like you're seeing in this photo here. Again, more mystery domes or spheres sitting in the middle of craters, and then just a couple of 100 feet away is this mysterious dark triangular structure that looks to be partially covered up by...
But if you look at it, you can see a crater there forms one side of that triangle. So that wasn't actually a triangle. It's one sheet of rock going this way, another sheet of rock going this way, and then an impact crater below it forms the other side. And these days we know that impact craters always create a mound in the middle. And of course, now we've got ice that pushes up rocks from below too. So in the center of that, would there be like a big boulder that's formed underneath and then gradually gets pushed up from the freeze and cold cycles? More than likely. So yeah. I'm no rock expert, but as we can see, we can do some basic research and see that there's some explanation about it. It looks like Plex is finally up early. He's up early today. He's on Discord at the moment.
The Martian sand. And heck, even the planet itself, when you look at it from space, zoomed out, and you go to the massive volcano on the surface of Mars, Olympus Mons, you'll notice that Mars, no joke, has a formation of volcanoes that create a perfect triangle, with the largest of the four, Olympus Mons, being the tip, or spearhead. Isn't that amazing? In my opinion, Mars is still very
Mother Nature is amazing, yes.
active. There may not be life on the surface, but I definitely think that there could be underneath the surface, and we definitely know the volcanoes there are still active, even though NASA has said that they're not.
Okay, so that's a lie. These are million years old volcanoes, but like Liston and Christchurch here, and it's certainly not active. What this is actually condensation at the top of the volcano peak as methane gas cools down, forms these clouds, right, and gets pretty cold. We've talked about that before. Again, you can look that up or look at past episodes.
The video years ago where these giant plumes of what looked like gas or mist were coming out of one of these volcanoes that make up the mysterious.
Was it coming out? That's actually, if you look at it on different angles and HD photographs, you can actually see it's clouds forming above, not coming out of the volcanoes.
Triangle, and it was just massive. It was like 1,000 miles long, 100 miles wide. This giant smoke.
So it's really misinformation. So he's what's he going to say?
Coming out like a factory. But anyway, tell me what you think about these stone piles on Mars, the square building foundations, the domes, the monoliths, and yes, even the flower-like psychedelic alien mushrooms. So put your comments down below. Now moving on to some UFO footage for you guys. I got two clips here, and both of them are equally mysterious, eerie, and one of them happened down here on planet Earth. The other one happened right above our sun. So here is the UFO clip that happened down here at Ground Zero, where a motorist out in Marion, Ohio, very close.
I think we may have debunked this one already for our third phase. And I think it was just illumination flares, wasn't it? It looks like it's got a little smokiness around them. 4 in a row, and then they fade out. Let's keep watching.
Close nearby to me, captured on video, driving down the road at night in their car. These two sets of stationary lights that during the entirety of the footage are just hanging there in the sky, tilted sort of at an angle, not moving, no blinking lights, and well, check this out.
Oh my god, what is that? What is that?
Yeah, what is that? It's a building, isn't it? There's a house with outside light on.
What the fuck?
Trees. Another house. Another house.
What is this? Oh my god. Oh my god.
Okay.
Oh my god, UFOs.
Wasn't it when they were doing the exercise with a C-130 and dropping stuff out the back, and they were using illumination flares? It's pretty low down, isn't it? It looks like the right height for C-130s to be dropping payloads out. Military exercise, right?
Oh my god. Oh my god.
In fact, that almost sounds like Tyler. Could that be Tyler faking UFO footage? Driving along saying, oh my god, is that him saying that? Let's have a listen to the voice again.
Out in Marion, Ohio, very close nearby to me, captured on video, driving down the road at night in their car. These two sets of stationary lights that during the entirety of the footage are lights and well.
What the fuck?
I wonder if we can make it louder somehow. Let's have a look. It sounds like him, you know.
What is this? What is this? Oh my god.
Sounds
Oh
like
my
him.
god.
Oh
Oh my god,
God.
UFOs. Oh my god. Oh my god. Look at that. Oh my god.
To me, that sounds just almost like Tyler. What do you reckon on that one? Is he faking videos again and submitting it to third phase and move on? He's done it before. We know he's done it before with car parts and stuff, hubcap photographs. So yeah, that's almost. I'd probably have to pull that one about and do a voice side by side on that one. Just maybe we can catch him out on another fake UFO video where he's using his voice.
Okay, so I'm showing you the zoomed in shots here, and I'm just going to let this play. But when I look at these things, and you guys are seeing it here, I look for signs that they could be drones or planes. I look for blinking FAA lights. I look for movement that would lead me to believe that it's a plane in the distance or a Chinese lantern, and I see none of that in this footage.
So what he should be doing is he should be finding out the date and time and plugging it into flight tracking software and seeing what was in the sky then. And I think it has been done, and I think this one was done by Scott Brando. Again, we probably haven't got time to look it up, but it's an old video, pretty sure Scott Brando did it. Let's just do a quick search, I suppose. I think it was C-130s. C-130s, which are like cargo transport planes that drop jeeps out the back and food and stuff. Troops, parachuted troops. And 30. Have we got his name right? Maybe didn't use that word because you're only limited by certain amounts. Maryland, was it? What was the place? What else can we use? Military, maybe. Nah. How am I spelling it? Okay, let's have a look. It's not that one. It's not that one. Not that one. Not that one. Not that one. What's this one? Naval battle. Yeah, not that one. 4 lines of dots. Yeah, Las Vegas. Not that one. Don't think. Yeah, it was a few months ago now, wasn't it? Not those ones. What's that one? Cluster lights. Nope. Nope. These are very common. Plain contrails. Nope. That one. Yeah. Well, maybe he's already debunked it. Let's just go to his main channel. You may have watched the Secureteam video. So he normally reposts stuff if he repeats stuff, but not always. Yeah, obviously not. Oh, I got hit by that finally. Right, so you just have to probably take my word on that one, probably, for the time being. We'll find back where we talked about it previously.
Some kind, and each of the lights looks to be the same thing down below. And remember, it's the size of planet Earth. And in this footage, captured.
Okay, so we talked about artifacts with the Soho images that he's done before, and here's just another example where he's trying to say it's a cube UFO.
Captured by the Soho stereo satellite. Satellites that are out in space constantly monitoring the sun and taking real-time video of it. As the sun is spinning, you'll notice what appears to be a giant, and I mean massive, rectangular object that appears and is captured as it looks to be directly above the sun. And as you're seeing here, this is unlike any glitch I've ever seen before. And what's crazy,
he's such a good lawyer. It really is. These glitches have been around for ages. You can see it looked like it was layered over top. So it looks like it was on. Talking about video compression as well, how it works. It has like a main frame that copies, and then any motion it puts vectors in and just copies that chunk of data where it's changing. That to me looks like it's lost the parent frame of the video in transmission. Maybe they do that too. Maybe they compress it and only transmit the compressed data. They must do, because that's why that's got a square block there. Anyway, it's a compression error where it's lost some data to reference, and so it ends up looking like a strange blob. Looks like he's just still talking about it still there. But yeah, I think I covered it not long ago, didn't I? Secureteam disinformation episode. Anyway, I got dinner. I've been given the dinner bell sign, so it means I have to go. Okay. I probably need to clean up at some time. So I'll say good night and we'll leave it there. This looks like we've all had time to do today, because I started late because I was tired. And take care on the roads, everybody. See you again next episode. Could be tomorrow or Sunday. My Sunday, which should be your Saturday. Hopefully Rob is coming back. I don't know. I haven't heard from him. That means we'll be doing a show your Sunday, if that's the case. So, if you're on Discord, you'll probably find out ahead of time. Yeah, we didn't get blue chicken today. Speaking of chicken, we got chicken for dinner. Oh, that'll be enough. Just a quickie today, just to go through Secureteam, I guess. Still want to do sky watching, but I haven't got my parts.